Hey guys, and welcome back to Better C Sharp. Today we're going to be talking about dependency inversion. We've talked about this a bit in past videos, and today we're going to go over it kind of briefly, but mainly the part that I want to talk about is how to enable dependency inversion across libraries. So dependency inversion is basically what we talked about in the class architecture video. Its high-level modules should not depend on low-level modules. Both should depend upon abstractions. And really, so far, we've mainly been talking about the high-level modules. Um, and so today we're going to talk a little bit about the low-level modules and how this can work across libraries. So first, I want to get out of the way. Dependency inversion and dependency injection are not the same way. Are not the same thing. Dependency injection is a way that you can deliver dependencies to your code. And so if you have code that follows the dependency inversion principle, dependency injection or IOC containers are a way that you can deliver those dependencies many times in an automated way that makes use of like config files and stuff like that. It just makes all the wiring up a lot easier. So dependency inversion enables unit testing. Without it, unit testing would be very hard because all your dependencies would be, inside of your classes, and it would be hard to test. We'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. Um, it can be used at the method level, the class level, and even the library level. So methods, in many cases, kind of get this for free, but not always. So in methods, you pass in the things that you need to do the work that needs to be done, or what you have access to a class level variable. So really what this is saying is the way you would not follow the dependency inversion principle at a method level is like if you were newing something up inside there without like consulting variables in the class or whatnot. So anytime you new something up inside of a method, that method depends on that implementation, right? Because you can't new up abstractions, if that makes sense. You can use it at the class level. That's mainly what we've been talking about, where you take in all your dependencies in a constructor, you save them or do whatever you need with them in the constructor, and then your methods of your class use those dependencies to deliver their functionality. And today we're going to be talking a lot about the library level. If you've ever seen libraries that have multiple implementations, such as like you might have like you got system.data and then you have like system.data.sql or system.data.oracle or db2 or system.data. I don't know, maybe there's others, MySQL, for instance. Those are basically inverted dependency libraries, right? Because you're depending, like your code, what you can do is have your code depend on the system.data namespace code. And then your code isn't worried about whether or not it comes from SQL or from MySQL or from Oracle or whatever. Uh, that would be the goal of that code. So anytime you see code that looks like that, that is kind of a dead giveaway of what's going on there. And then, along with that, like if you needed to, you could implement your own version of system.data's different things in there. We're going to talk about that using an example of our vehicle provider. So in the last video, we had this kind of setup where we had we had these three classes right here that follow different interfaces. So we have a random offer provider that is an I offer provider. We have a private party vehicle cost calculator that is a vehicle cost calculator, which is an I vehicle cost calculator. And we have a margin vehicle seller, which is an I vehicle seller. And we had some other implementations of this as well. Like we had an exact vehicle seller, we had a wholesale vehicle cost calculator, etc. Well, today we're going to be looking at the vehicle provider itself. And so last time we had an array vehicle provider, and that took in an array of iVehicle and just basically gave it back. But today we're going to be talking about how you can use a library as a way of inverting dependencies. And so if you look in our project tree, we have these three projects right here. We have vehicles.dataaccess, dataaccess.json, and dataaccess.edi. And so data access is the actual abstraction library. And so you'll see this in some like Microsoft libraries as well. Like you might see like Microsoft.logging.abstractions or something like that. And then there's different libraries that implement those abstractions. That's kind of the same deal we have going on here. So we have this iVehicle provider interface, and then we have multiple implementations of it. So we have a JSON one right here that just reads in the text file and deserializes it. And we have an example of that right here. So this is, a tank, a car, and a truck. 4 doors, 4 seats, 2 doors, 2 seats, 2 doors, 3 seats, and then the different weights. And then we have another one for EDI, and this is kind of what an EDI format might look like. You might have like, it's a vehicle, it's a tank, it's got 4 doors, it's got 4 seats, and it weighs 2,000 units. So that's an EDI one, and then so we might have also an EDI vehicle provider, and all of these are in different libraries, right? And so what we're doing here right now is we're saying we're relying on an abstraction from the low level. We're implementing an abstraction, and then from the high level we're relying on an abstraction as well, iVehicle provider. Restart OmniSharp here because it keeps erroring out on me for some reason. And so if we run this, I'll just get a new console here. Go to C# and then console, and then we'll .NET run. And so right now we're using the JSON provider, right? And so we get back a tank with 4 doors, 4 seats, weight of 2,000, etc. So let's reload this. And then if we wanted to, we could even swap over to the EDI vehicle provider, right? So EDI vehicle provider. And we'll have to bring in our using. And if we go to the top here, we don't need that anymore. And in fact, let's go and change one of these so that we don't have the same output. Let's say the truck weighs 1,200. And so if we run this again, we'll see that we get back the same thing, except now, and not. Let's see, parameter length. Let's try it one more time. Must have broken something somewhere. Let's go take a look. So where's our stack trace? Line 24. So it's saying we're not getting anything out. So do we not have, we do have the, oh, we didn't change the file name. So let's go do that. Makes sense. So now if we run this, we should see the 1,200 on the truck. All right, cool. So that's a way you can invert your dependencies at a library level from the high level code. But there's also doing it from the low level code. And we looked at this a little bit last time, but let's say that we wanted to have in our data access layer, we wanted to have an iLogger interface, right? And so we might have something like, so this is vehicles.data access. We might want something like public interface iLogger. Logger is such an easy thing to do this with because this is like a real world example. Like this is, you pass in iLogger, for instance, to other things like in ASP.NET. Like the middleware uses the iLogger interface from Microsoft's logging abstraction library, and that is a dependency that has been reversed. So let's go ahead and say void log of string message. And then if we wanted to, for instance, in our different providers, we could say, hey, we'll say private read-only ilogger logger. If it's not reading it yet, we'll just say logger. In fact, we'll just add this to the parameters. Okay, and then we will say, move it up here and say logger dot log. And we'll say opening our file name. And then if we go over to JSON vehicle provider, or we'll just stick it, we'll just stay with EDI vehicle provider. So, and then now out here we can actually make an implementation of this. So there are no implementations of this that the data access layer knows about, right? Like there's not an implementation in here. There's no implementation in the JSON provider or the EDI provider, but we can make one ourselves, just like last time. So if we said public class console logger implements ilogger, restart the server one more time. And then if we go ahead and implement this interface, so void log string message, and then we'll just say, you know, system.console.writeLine, and we'll say datetime.now.to short time string, and then the message. And we'll have to bring in datetime. And our data access layer. So, and now in order to instantiate this, we have to actually provide this. So new console logger, right? And now we've diverted this dependency from the low level as well. So the low level is depending on an abstraction that's we're providing from a higher level. And that's how you can pick any of these arrows. Like, you know, program right now or EDI vehicle provider depends on an ilogger. And also our program depends on an I vehicle provider. So like we have dependencies pointing in both directions right now. And that's a good thing because now we can, you know, if we had tests for EDI vehicle provider, we could just mock out an ilogger and not care about it. But if we had all the implementations in those libraries, it would be harder for us to override it from the outside. So I hope that makes sense, and I hope it provides kind of an explanation of what it means for the dependencies to be dependent on abstractions, right? From both the low and the high level. I know the high level makes more sense, but now I hope it makes sense from the low level as well. Like our low level parts that our low level libraries, the EDI provider, now depends on a ilogger abstraction, and our higher level program can now implement that abstraction. So it goes both ways. So I hope that makes sense. Maybe we can go run this real quick and it'll tell us that we're opening the file. I guess it helps if we actually use a $sign here for string interpolation. Okay, there you go. So vehicles.edi. All right, so I hope that helps. If you guys have any questions about that, let me know. We're going to move on next time. We had a request about doing exception handling, and I think this is actually a perfect place to look at it. We have an exception here that we have not thrown, but we'll look at that in the next video and how to catch those and where to handle those and when and if you should. Let me know if you guys have any more suggestions. I try and keep up with them. If you guys like what I'm doing, subscribe. And yeah, thanks for watching.